Good evening, this is Brass Tacks. I'm Zaka Jacob. The IndiGo crisis is far from getting over. Even today, more than 500 flights got cancelled. Over the last 5 days since this crisis began, more than 3,000 flights have gotten cancelled. It is clear that this was a case of gross mismanagement. The CEO, Peter Elbers, who you saw a moment ago, he's under fire. He was show-caused by the DGCA. He had time until 6 p.m. today. There's been a response from the DGCA that's been put out as well. We'll break that in just a moment here on Brass Tacks, what the details are and what IndiGo is saying as to the reason for this complete meltdown. Elbers has been summoned again by the DGCA once more tomorrow. One thing is clear. This is not any ordinary screw-up by an airline. This was a monumental, a colossal case of misplanning and absolutely disastrous execution. And customers are the ones who've had to pay. They've lost their baggage, they've lost their money. A lot of people are now complaining that IndiGo is not fully refunding them. Third-party ticket bookers are not fully refunding them. The bottom line is this. Something colossal happened. Colossal mismanagement happened. And it is still far from normal. So the question is about accountability. The question is, will heads roll? And if it starts to roll, it has to roll from the top. Will the Civil Aviation Ministry step in? Will the CEO get sacked? Will the board be held accountable? These are questions that need to be asked, and rightfully so. People are angry. It's a public company. It's a listed company. The shareholders need to be asking these questions. The board has very eminent members. They're answerable as well. And of course, the CEO, with whom the buck stops, is answerable as well. All of these questions we will ask tonight on the show here on Brass Tacks, but this has become a huge issue, a huge talking point even in Parliament, where the Civil Aviation Minister, Mr. Ram Mohan Naidu, was forced to speak to the upper house today. He will be speaking to the lower houses of Parliament tomorrow. He'll be making a statement. Today he made a statement in the Rajya Sabha. He basically said that the government is leaving no stone unturned to ensure justice against non-compliance, and if IndiGo is found guilty of any kind of misdemeanor, then there will be a heavy price to pay. Listen in to what the minister had to say.
Let me tell you that we are not taking this situation easily. We are doing an inquiry and we will take very, very strict action, not only for this situation, but also as an example. We will set an example for all the airlines. If there is any miscompliance, any non-compliance or non-adherence for any single person, any entity or any organization or any operator functioning in this civil aviation, we will take very, very strict action so that we set an example in the industry.
Now, the statement from the minister comes against the backdrop of the IndiGo CEO, Peter Elbers. He's made back-to-back statements. He's put out video statements over the last couple of days. When the crisis first hit, the CEO communicated to the staff of IndiGo that the airline has not been able to live up to its expectations. This was on the very first day, on the 4th of December, a couple of days, in fact, after the crisis actually became as bad and as unmanageable as it became. Then the next day, on the 5th of December, he basically put out another statement. This was a video statement where he confirmed that the airline had initiated a reboot of all its systems and schedules, which thereby led to these disruptions. And then after battling the crisis now for 5 days straight, yesterday again, Mr. Elbers put out a video statement saying that the reboot strategy had finally worked and restoration operations are underway. He's asked for time until the 10th, between the 10th and the 15th of December, for operations to come back to complete normalcy. As of today, though, more than 1,800 flights out of the 2,300 or so that IndiGo operates, 1,800 flights have operated, about 500 had to be cancelled. So things, if they are coming to normal, they're coming at a snail's pace. They're really very, very slowly crawling back to a degree of normalcy. Now, the crisis, the peak point, of course, the number of cancellations has been coming down, no doubt about it. In fact, if you look at, how the graph is shaping, clearly last weekend, starting with Friday, was the worst, where there were more than 1,600 cancellations that happened on Friday. And progressively, it's been coming down. The next day, on Saturday, there were 800 cancellations. The day after that, on Sunday, there was, again, 650 cancellations. Today, it's come down to 500. So cumulatively, over the last week or so, there's been more than 3,000 cancellations. It is coming down. No one is disputing that fact. But the fact that it is coming down so slowly. Look, there are only two ways to resolve this crisis. Either IndiGo hires new pilots, and they will need to hire about 60, maybe 70 or 100 pilots, and that's not going to happen overnight, or they reduce the number of sectors that they're operating in. Either of which will cause disruption, either option will cause some amount of pain to the customer. So this is not a problem that's going to go away in a hurry. While the operations may be returning to a degree of normalcy, and like I said, it might be happening quite slowly, throughout this crisis, there was no public statement from any of the top management, the board of directors of IndiGo Airlines. And it has some very, very big names, no doubt about it, some very illustrious names. We've not heard a word from any of them, starting with Mr. Vikram Mehta, who's the chairman and independent non-executive director. He's not said anything either on his social media profiles or anywhere else. Rahul Bhatia is one of the promoters of IndiGo Airlines. He's the managing director. Again, Mr. Bhatia has not said pip squeak since this IndiGo crisis began. And then you have a whole host of people who are on part of the board. Again, none of them have reacted either officially from their social media handles or given a soundbite to any television channel or said anything. That includes former Air Chief Marshal Birinder Dhanoa, former IAF Chief Michael Gordon Whitaker is again an independent non-executive director. M. Damodaran used to be the SEBI chairman in his time. He's an independent non-executive director. Again, he's not said anything. Mr. Amitabh Kant was the CEO of the Niti Aayog. Again, he's not said anything about the IndiGo crisis. Greg Albert Swaretsky was with the FAA in the US. He's not said anything. Anil Parashar, again, non-independent, non-executive director, no word from him. And Peter Elbers has put out these 2 or 3 videos, which again, frankly, I'm not sure how much that is helping resolve this crisis or being able to communicate better about how quickly they can resolve this crisis. So this is the illustrious board of directors of IndiGo Airlines. We've not heard anything from any of these individuals other than the CEO, but the buck has to stop somewhere. Someone has got to take responsibility for it, and someone needs to be held accountable for this colossal meltdown.